to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a game metaphor hypnosis session to deal with a particular fantasy in many ways. There was a client that I was working with, and they had a fling, and they were still thinking about that fling, and they didn't want a relationship with the person they had that fling with, but equally, they didn't want to just kind of cut it and have nothing to do with them. They wanted that element of tension and excitement. And this hypnosis session really utilizes the metaphor of a game, and a game where their attention is a way of them to harness the game. And the real thing is that they are winning the game if they are making choices from an empowered place. And if they're thinking too much about the other person, then they lose the game. So it's about defining the parameters of the game to turn something that could be a cause of guilt or shame or regret or just anxiety into something more like a harmless fantasy that actually makes their life more exciting. Now, the key caveat, the key condition to this is that there is a boundary that they're not going to move beyond the idea of fantasy. It's not going to affect their real life. The fling was just a fling, and it's nothing more than that. And as long as they respect that boundary, it remains this thing that they can decide to stop playing the game whenever they want. But if they choose to play the game, they're making the game work for them. And that might enrich their ability to do things that are good for themselves anyway. So take pride in their appearance, work out, do things for themselves that they might not do if they didn't have this particular dynamic. So if you can relate to the idea of wanting excitement, drama, and turning into a little bit of a fun game that you play while respecting the other people in your life, then this could be an interesting hypnosis session for you. And if you like the idea of working with me, I actually have created a webinar. It's a free webinar that explains what I do, why hypnosis works. It's got suggestibility tests. So if you like the idea of finding more out about that, have a look in the description and you'll see a link to sign up immediately for that webinar. At the end of the webinar, there's actually 10 free hypnosis downloads worth £97 or about $130. So you'll get that free just by watching the webinar to the end. For now, though, I'd encourage you to find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed to relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow any feelings of worry, stress, or tension to just leave your body in your outward breath. Breathing in relaxation, exhaling tension. As you scan your body for any clues of any tension in your jaw, your neck, or your shoulders, position your body in such a way where ever-increasing relaxation is inevitable. You can breathe in for deeper, exhale for longer. Just allow each breath to take you deeper relaxed than the last. That's it. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. A flywheel of ever-increasing feelings of resourceful relaxation. And just take an even deeper breath than before. And just breathe in that quality of settled readiness. The calm of someone who has been here before and knows what they're doing. And I want you to embrace, acknowledge your competitive nature. The way you're wired has given you so much. It's influenced your fitness, your career, your ability to learn, to impact, to acquire knowledge, and make friendships. And there is a desire within you to be aware of power dynamics, the ebbs and flows of communication, able to keep an upper hand, have the edge. And this isn't something you had to learn. This is just part of who you are. And that same intelligence that has served you so well in all of these different areas is present right now. But what if we can enhance it? Take that competitive nature and dial it up to the next level. Enable it to be sharpened, enhanced, and refined even further. And I wonder, as you breathe in and breathe out, sinking deeper into that place of clarity, thoughtfulness, I want you to think of a memory. Perhaps you in your early 20s, where you were clear on the rules of the game. It was fine to someone show you interest. But I want you to observe that version of you and just see how clear your boundaries were. Just because somebody wanted something didn't mean you had to say yes. If someone didn't meet your criteria, you would pay them no mind. And as you observe that younger version of you, seeing that when the rules of the game were clear, you were able to enjoy the harmless nature of fun, of drama, of attention ebbing and flowing. Because this game now is a game you've played before. Not this exact version, but the underlying structure is completely familiar. That dynamic where someone is putting in more effort than you, where the validation comes with a quality of the pursuit attached, where the emotional upper hand is yours, because you are the one who could walk away more easily. As you observe that version from your past, you know You play that game well. You knew the rules. You knew your position. And crucially, you knew that the game was the game. Something you were playing for the stimulation it provided. And there were other women your age that were on the receiving end of a different game and they didn't know the rules. That wasn't you. Some games are being played, whereas other people are being played. And what your unconscious can see, this is the same game dressed in adult clothes, a different environment, running on a different platform but structurally very similar. And you can see what contributed to it. Secrecy, pressure, responsibility, time. There may have been something that opened a window of opportunity, but the ingredients were incubating before that time. And those similar dynamics, those familiar dynamics are still there. Glances, messages, smiles, proximity, still present, still creating energy, tension, and drama. This isn't mysterious, not uncontrollable. It's a pattern your competitive nervous system finds fascinating, stimulating. And the moment you see it for what it is, something shifts in your relationship to it. You are the one running this game. You are not being played by the game. And you choose to play because it's fun and interesting for you. But here's the most important refinement. Since it's your game, you get to define the rules. So here's one upgrade the game needs. That one adjustment that converts it from something that occasionally runs you into something you run entirely. Because in the past, you were careful never to let your score depend on the other person's moves. Every reaction had an equal and opposite reaction. Disinterest, you knew what you would do. Your mood did not hinge, was not dependent on everything that someone else did. You knew you had options that were empowering for you. So right now, I want you to think about how you enhance the rules now. So that whether or not they do certain things does not affect your mood unless you want it to. Where there'll be the possibility of chance encounters, all of that you only decide to keep if it gives you more of that excitement, drama, and intrigue. But the moment your self-worth starts being affected by what someone may or may not notice, the amount of attention, a compliment or lack thereof, isn't needed to play this game. So allow your unconscious to recalibrate this now. You are the game's master. You define the rules. And you can recalibrate with the precision of someone who knows exactly what the winning position looks like. Their presence is interesting, or it isn't. A message arriving or not arriving is just mildly entertaining, or it isn't. But it does not determine the quality of your day. What they do or don't do does not mean winning or losing. Winning or losing is entirely based on what you do. And every time you do something from a genuine position of fun, high self-worth, improvement and evolution, you're winning. And every time you choose to do something from a position of low self-worth, let's define that losing. If it empowers you, you're winning. If you feel forced, coerced, if you feel that you have to react rather than respond, that's losing. And therefore, this game becomes a game that you can always win. They give you attention, you're winning. You don't get attention, you're still winning if you choose to feel good and do something that makes you feel good. It's still winning. Their attention is a move in a game, but this is your game. When the attention arrives, you notice it. And when it doesn't, you notice that too. And you return to your game, which is always more interesting than whatever their moves are within it. There's a new way of thinking worth installing into this subconscious game. So let's install it cleanly and permanently about what has been motivating additional gym sessions, enhancement to your living conditions, dressing well, improving yourself. Because this surface story, which isn't true by the way, has been, I want him to notice how well I'm doing. But that gives your power away. If it goes unnoticed, you can feel like you're losing. But your unconscious can access the deeper truth. The gym sessions happened regardless of whether or not he noticed. You acquiring new knowledge and new understandings taking up new hobbies and improving yourself. All of that contributes to an elevated, higher value version of yourself. So long as you are moving forward, that is winning. And the idea that you're dressing or presenting yourself for someone else was just a proxy for the real truth. You were doing it for you. Because if they noticed, you would feel good. So it was always for you. So why not embrace it being for you? There's a wonderful idea called the double bind. You may have heard the phrase, heads I win, tails you lose. Whatever happens, you end up winning. If they notice, you win. And if they don't notice, but you improve yourself anyway, you win. Given that the underlying motive is to win, why not make the game so you can't possibly lose? They were just the excuse the competitive part of you needed to upgrade. A player in a game they didn't know they were playing. And all of these upgrades are yours now, permanently, entirely independent of whether this particular game continues or fades. Everything you've done to show up better, you actually did for yourself. He may have been the spark, but you are the fire. The results are yours. But this game needs one rule to keep it fun. The reason this game is enjoyable rather than destructive is a single clear boundary. And your unconscious can hold this as a structural fact rather than a moral instruction. The drama is valuable precisely because it costs nothing real. The excitement exists because the stakes are low. The fantasy is pleasurable because it is fantasy. The moment any of the fantasy changes into true risks linked to reality, the moment low stakes become high stakes, the game stops being entertainment and becomes something else entirely. Not because of what anyone else would think, but because you are someone who knows the difference between a game that benefits you and a game that costs you. Why risk all these wonderful things that you've built? Relationship, career, reputation, a life that's genuinely full. A wonderful way to think about a game. Why play the game if it's not worth winning? You are playing this game for fun and drama, stimulation and interest. You don't want anything more than that. You've already considered it and ruled it out. And therefore, anything that can move it in that direction suddenly means it's a game you don't want to play. It's not a restriction. but the clearest possible expression of your own competitive intelligence. The player who knows when to stay in a game and when to cash out. The player who never lets the excitement of a hand make her forget what's actually at stake. The drama stays interesting because it stays in its lane. The boundary is not a cage. It's the rule that makes the game worth playing. Think of all of these games you've been playing. Real games with real rules. If you break the rule, the game suddenly gets confusing and messy. The game only makes sense when the players stick to the rules of the game. So you are the player. You run the game. The game does not run you. Everything you've done to show up better, you did for yourself. And the boundary that keeps this fun is knowing what you want and what you don't. While it's a fun fantasy that offers drama and intrigue, keep playing the game. The moment it creeps into a different territory, just like any other game, you can decide you don't want to play it anymore. And I want you to imagine what the next few days, weeks, or even months would be like. A game where you can't lose. You have that tension, that chemistry, that attention, that validation. That's winning. And anytime you choose to improve yourself, that's winning. And the only way to lose is to give the power of how you feel away to the actions or inactions of someone else. So imagine what that looks like. That whatever happens, you're winning. And if your unconscious is happy to refine the rules of the game to make it work for you more than ever before, let me know by nodding your head. And with that in mind, it's time to return. Return to an intentional, positive, wonderful game of your choosing. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I count from 1 to 10, that's it. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, that's it. Fully wide awake. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.